Welcome back to my channel, everybody. I'm really pleased to have you here joining me today. Now, my guest for my interview today is the absolute sweetheart of London's West End, and she's a sweetheart in real life. I know this. I've known her 20 years. I went to drama school with her, and she's awesome. Please join me in welcoming the wonderful Julie Atherton. Hello, my love.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good.
Thank you for joining me today. I'm very happy to see your lovely face.
Oh, you're flapping it.
It has literally been a long time since we've seen each other. Obviously COVID and just life, you know. But are you keeping well?
Yes, I'm keeping very well. A bit tired, but good.
Well, that's not the usual working, isn't it? Let's face it.
Yeah.
You're a very popular girl, aren't you, Jules? But it's lovely to see you. Thank you for joining me. So we're going to have a chat about your career and basically the business as a whole. So let's get going. Did you always know you wanted to be a performer? Was that always in you from a kid?
Basically, yeah. I couldn't do anything else. So I was starting to panic, especially when I got to, my GCSEs, and everybody seemed so sure about what they were doing. I mean, they probably weren't, but, that's the impression you get. And you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. But I loved performing, but I was quite shy, really. I had no confidence. And I knew I wanted to do it, but I always thought, oh, it's a bit of a pipe dream. Like, it's just something I just like dream about in my bedroom while I'm singing along to Miss Saigon. The tape. That's how old it was. And then I went to sixth form college, and my drama teacher there really pushed me. I still failed it, but it was the written work. Just can't do written work. Now I feel that I probably would have been diagnosed with something. I'm sure I would have been.
If they'd known 20 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, because my concentration was so bad. It still is, really. But now I know, like, I have a creative brain. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So I always felt like I was a fish trying to climb a tree.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So so then when my drama teacher encouraged me, I just thought, this is great, like, he thinks I'm good at something, so I'm going to pursue this. And I basically just went for it. Went into the library, which I had never stepped foot in before. It's just not academic whatsoever. And found a list of drama schools, and of course there wasn't social media back then, so you just had to look for it without knowing about any of them, really. And it wasn't a thing to go from sixth form college to then go to a drama school, really. Everyone just expected you to do something academic, as it is. The school system just pushes you to do, to make money, whatever. And so I looked for a list, and then I'd heard that somebody in the year above me, Helen Latham, had gone to Mountview, so that was like top of my list. And then had some other drama schools on there. One was Guildford, I think, and I don't think I ended up going to that audition in the first place, because as soon as I got into Mountview, I was like, yes, I've done it. And from there, obviously, as soon as I got into a drama school, that was it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Mountview there. Obviously, we trained together. Did you feel, I don't know about you, I felt like I needed the discipline of drama school. Did you feel like you needed that? What did you feel you needed to gain most? And did you enjoy it? She says, remembering lots of laughs that we had. But
I definitely needed discipline. I didn't necessarily take a lot of it. Oh dear, you can take the girl out of Preston. Yeah, I've come from quite a rough school, so it's like
same.
Yeah. But I think it was mainly my confidence that needed building. I was so insecure. And by the way, like, one of the lessons in drama school, well, in any school really, but should just be counselling. That should be it. Moving to London with all these like problems that we all have, like, therapy was so frowned upon then. It still is a little bit now in Britain, but it's getting so much better. But it should just be standard for everyone.
I agree. Actually, I had a similar conversation with another friend that there should be some kind of therapy / just a safe space that you can go to. There isn't anything like, I mean, I don't know what it's like now. I've not been to drama school now, but this is 20 years ago. But there was nothing like that, really. You just kind of had to get on with it.
Yeah, And it was so brutal as well. Like, it's quite personal when you're showing a part of yourself, you're acting, you know, it's not like some written word and you go, there you go. It's a part of you, and you feel defensive.
That's my doorbell. I'm going to go and grab the doorbell. Give me 2 seconds.
Amazing.
So at drama school, did you have any sort of inspirations, people that you looked up to that you wanted to be like, or who inspired you to perform?
I mean, I was obsessed with Miss Saigon. I don't know whether you remember that. Leah Salonga was.
Wow. I mean, she's a goddess. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, one day I'm going to play Miss Saigon. Like, that's never going to happen. Especially now. Jonathan Pryce did. So bad.
I worked with him in 2015. He's just, have you met him?
I've never met him.
Brilliant. I absolutely loved him. I was working as production coordinator on a film, and I ended up kind of being his assistant and driving him everywhere. And we had the most amazing conversations together in between takes. And I never got his coffee right. I never got his bacon sandwich right. And he just didn't care. Like, he was brilliant. A lovely guy. Yeah. And we were listening to Miss Saigon in the car as well. And I was like, yeah, that's just weird. Yeah.
I was obsessed with that show. Absolutely obsessed with it. But obviously could never really be in it.
Yeah, why's that? I think my obsession at drama school, I was very typical. I loved all the Andrew Lloyd Webber stuff. I loved Cats, I loved Starlight, but then I also loved Les Mis as well. So I did the same as you in my bedroom and singing my heart out to Cats and things like that before Mountview.
Yeah.
But okay, well, if I remember correctly, you got your first professional job? I can't speak. You got your first professional job. It was in the last year of drama school. It was at the Polka Theatre, and it was Charlotte's Web.
Yes, you're so good. I know. Yeah, I did.
You got that one. Was that kind of, I'm just slightly putting a question in, was that interesting, kind of getting your first professional job, but still being in drama school?
Very interesting. Yeah. It wasn't really taken well. Yeah, I remember Paul Sophie saying to me, absolutely, well, you know, you're going to miss your lead. So I was like, you want to weigh up, you know, do you want to do your lead or do you want to leave and do this job? And I thought, get paid for a professional job that I'm training to do or stay in training. Yeah. It was a no-brainer for me.
Massively damaged your career, that decision, clearly. Well, then... Yeah. Am I also right in thinking that it was pretty much just after that time that you got Mamma Mia as well?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I remember. And you obviously got the lead, Sophie, in Mamma Mia, which is huge. I mean, how did it feel to land such a massive show?
That was the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Best. I don't think I've ever topped that feeling.
Really?
It's quite a funny story. I know I've probably told it a million times, but I was doing a panto in York at the time. Like, sorry, I'm burping. Yeah, I was doing a panto in York at the time, and it was like, it was quite bleak. It was snowing a lot, and some of the stuff we had to do in it, like I was an alien at one point, like just really, really bleak stuff, but like a really nice cast. And I was back and forth all the time, and York to London, like it's quite a trek.
Yeah.
I had so many auditions for it, and yeah, one day I just didn't think I'd get it. Like it was just such a pipe dream, but obviously I was getting closer and closer. But I was like, oh, that's great that I got down to the final, you know, for Sophie and Mamma Mia. But okay. And then I got a phone call that morning, and it was the dress rehearsal for the panto. And I got a phone call from my agent saying, you've got the job. And I was like, what do you mean I've got it? Do you mean understudy? And they were like, no, you've got the job. You've got the lead. You've got Sophie. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, so she had to like tell me a few times. I was like, okay. So then I'm walking in to the theatre. Now I don't know where I am in York. I'm just walking. I'm on the phone to everyone, all my family and friends, just going, I can't believe it. And then I looked up and I was like, where am I? I don't know where I am. Anyway, so I phoned the company manager. They had to direct me back to the theatre. I ended up having to get a taxi. I didn't know what was going on. And that wasn't easy then. It wasn't like the days of Uber. It was like, find the local taxi firm, get some cash out. And so I was a little bit late for warm-up. Anyway, got on. I was so happy. Did the opening number in the dress rehearsal. What a glorious day. Did this layout and went over on my ankle. I was so happy. I just wasn't. I couldn't stay on my own 2 feet. So then I'm crawling off the stage. People are laughing at me in the wings, thinking I'm just being silly. Like, what? And then they had to, my ankle swelled up so much, they had to cut my shoe off me. And then cut to, I'm in A&E in pantaloons in a wheelchair. And somebody had just given me a little bottle of champagne on the way out, one of my friends, and just gone, congratulations. So I was sat in A&A with a little bottle of champagne in the straw going, yay.
Yay, my life. That's amazing.
Like slam back down to earth.
Yeah. But part of me just goes, because it's you. And I get it. Because it's the sort of stupid things that happen to me as well. And I totally understand that. Okay, so since Mamma Mia, your career hasn't really stopped and you've been in some incredible productions, but we have to mention, of course, the production that basically, I think I'm right in saying, kind of catapulted you quite a bit, and that's the role of Kate Monster and Lucy the Slut in Avenue Q. And I saw you play that role twice, actually. I remembered, actually, I saw you play it twice because I went with a couple of friends and I was like, yeah. And you were amazing. You were absolutely amazing in that role. And you looked like you were having an absolute blast, which is fantastic. And it was so lovely to see you up there with Sean and Giles as well. So, because you were all in the production together. That's Sean Lloyd and Giles Torreira, for anyone who's watching, who's done amazing, hasn't he, Giles? He's done incredible well for himself.
Yeah, and about time. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He's an incredible guy. Yeah. Really nice guy as well. So can you talk us through a bit of how, first of all, how you got Avenue Q, and then the kind of process of not only learning the show, but learning all that puppeteering? Because for anyone who doesn't know Avenue Q, the whole show is puppeteering completely. Dirty puppets, we like it. So I was crying with laughter the entire time, literally just totally my humour. So yeah, if you can talk us through a little bit about that whole kind of process, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, well, it was weird because in the audition, I went in and sang a comedy song, and then they were like, right, I know this is a bit weird, but can you just put the puppet on? I know you probably never puppeteered before. I was like, yeah, okay. And then you're like trying to move their mouth at the same time. I was like, it really hurts. We're like, yeah, it's quite painful. So you just had to do something in an audition that you weren't trained in, which just felt odd. It's like, oh, here's me being crap at something in an audition that I'm trying to get a job for. So that just felt really odd. But we had a little workshop, and I remember, like, I know from afterwards that the assistant director said to the director after the workshop, yeah, I don't think Julie's gonna get through because her puppeteering was so bad. But if I'm honest, we were in a workshop with like loads of people, and I just felt, I don't know, it was just a lot of pressure when everybody in the room is also after that part. Like, it doesn't feel right. It didn't feel like a workshop. It felt like a public audition. So that was really odd. But also I knew there was another one coming up. So I just kind of took it all in that day, really. And then went home and like imagined the puppet was on me, practiced that. And then when I came in for the final audition, I was like, right, I feel a bit like I slightly know what I'm doing, even though I didn't. So yeah, a few of us got the job not really knowing how to puppeteer, but they just wanted to see our progression, which is absolutely fair enough. And so we started the first day. It was a 5-week rehearsal process. The first week was intensive puppeteering workshop from a guy that worked for Jim Henson, who was absolutely amazing. Peter Lindsey, he was just great. And we just played with the puppets all week, and it was so hard. It is like riding a bike. Like, you just think you're never going to get it, and then one day something clicks. But it clicks in a little bit. Like, for instance, the Lucy the Slut walk. Oh my god, I could not get that for ages, and every single morning I'd be like, right, I'd grab it and I'd be like, no, trying to work it out, and you just needed time in a mirror, really.
Yeah.
But then when it clicked one day, I was like, everyone watch this. It's like, is this it? They're like, yes. It was great. Yeah, because everyone's like having epiphanies at different times, and yeah, felt good. But even like on opening night, I remember the after press night, I just cried after it, and the director came in and went, are you all right? I was like, I just don't know how it went, because when you're a person on stage, you kind of know how it's gone, you know, whether you were any good. But when you're doing something with no mirror and you're just going, I think she was looking the right way and saying the right things, and you know, I think mine had a tendency to do that because my arm got tired. So yeah. And somebody once said to me, oh, I love the character choice that she's made, that she's a little bit to one side. I was like, no, that's just me. That's just bad puppeteering.
That's just me. Yeah. But it's hard though, isn't it? Because you're not only trying to show the character through the puppet, you're also showing it through your face. Because what I found was amazing, and I often think this, and I've worked with the Henson lot, so I know a bit about it. And I find you sometimes get drawn to the person, but I never did watching the show. I was kind of constantly on the puppet. So I found that amazing, and really quite a skill to be able to transfer what's going on here into what go on there. And that must have been quite hard work. I mean, I can imagine the work you put into this.
Yeah, it is. But again, it is like riding a bike. Like once you've picked it up, it kind of becomes second nature.
Yeah.
So even if something goes wrong on stage, you kind of go with it. You know, you're not like, oh, panic, and you know, your arms, it just becomes a part of you. Yeah. Strange. And it was hard to let go when I'd finished the show, because normally, you know, when you say goodbye to a costume, you're saying goodbye to a character, but it's like, oh yeah, it's the last time I'll wear that. And you kind of sick of it by the end, you know, wearing the same outfit every day anyway, or whatever. Yeah. When you're saying goodbye to a thing, it's like, bye. Oh no, somebody else is going to put their hand up your bum. I don't know how I feel about
that. You went back into it, didn't you, when it was at the Gielgud? Is that right? Yeah. That must have been nice, like seeing an old friend.
Oh, it was so nice. Yeah, I loved it. Well, they said to me, it's the last 4 months. Like, do you want to end the show? And I was like, yeah, I'll do the last 4 months. And then it ended up being, I think, another 8 or something. Right. Because it transferred again to the Gielgud. So yeah, it's hard. But also I didn't want to leave for any other reason, but I don't think my body could have taken it anymore. It's just, it's the repetitive strain, really. After a while, I think my shoulder needs a break.
Yeah, of course. They're quite heavy, aren't they, those puppets? Deceptively. Yeah. So around that same time that you first went into Avenue Q, was it 2006, something like that? You released your first solo album, didn't you? Tell a Few Words, and then you released a couple more. Did you always want to do solo work like that?
Yeah. I think I'm just one of those people that wants, like, oh, that, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Like, I just want to do everything. Yeah. And it's you know, it's difficult to hone into one thing because I like variety, and some people, you know, think that's a bad thing. Sometimes I think that's a bad thing, you know, that you are not completely concentrating on one thing, but I think it helps me grow, if I'm honest. Just the variety of everything. I just feel like I'm really like getting to know theatre by doing all the angles, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I do myself. Yeah.
There's
a danger, isn't there, though? Someone once said to me that there's a danger of becoming a jack of all trades and none. Like, and like, I produce and I write. I don't really perform much anymore, though I do miss it. But I mainly produce and write and run venues and things like that. And there is a danger, I suppose, that you could kind of spread yourself so thin that you're not kind of concentrating on one thing. But
it is all one thing, really. And it's survival, I think. Like, you have to learn to survive in this industry, and nobody talks about that enough, because it's a bit like a cancer that you don't want to get attached to, you know. Oh no, I'm doing really well. I'm doing really well all the time. I'm just so busy. I'm so busy doing everything. And I think that's it's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, the reality is the hardest thing about acting is staying in work.
Yeah.
And the more variety you have, the more fingers in pies, the better.
Yeah,
because
the more enjoyable you are. Yeah.
You never believe that, you know, we've heard a million times, yes, this is transferring, and yes, this is definitely going to happen, and blah, blah, blah. Until that contract's signed, no one believes anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, every like new workshop we do with musical, oh yeah, it's definitely going to have a West End run. Like,
Believe it when I see it in the Absolutely. So you haven't toured much. You've toured a couple of times, but one of your sort of big tours was Sister Act, of course, back in 2011, I think it was. And you played and you played Sister Mary Robert, and then also you then worked with our friend Craig Adams, who is amazing. I mean, let's face it, that guy's too talented for his own good. Always was. So you worked with him on Lift, the musical, playing the French teacher. So that was a character that you created, and you kind of created Sister Mary Robert as well, and of course Lucy the Slut and Cake Monster. What's your sort of process when it comes to creating a character from scratch? Do you have a sort of approach to it?
It varies really, but I think it's not necessarily a process. It's just getting to know it as much as possible and giving your own experiences to it. Yeah, really. And it's up to the director to pick and choose, you know, which they liked, really.
Yeah. Did you like identify with some characters easier than others?
Definitely. Some are harder to find if they don't feel like you, and so that's like an extra discussion with the director or whatever. But I think that French teacher was quite difficult to find until I realized, as in all parts, it's just emotions. It's just, you know, like, even if you haven't been through what the character's been through, you know, you have on a certain level. Yeah. Everything's relative. I'm quite open to whatever the director, whatever their process is, really. For me, as long as nobody like rushes me to learn my lines, like I get it. We're gonna have to be off book for the performance. We get that, but sometimes, you know, I need safety, because otherwise I'm just stood there remembering. I'm the same with auditions. Like, look, you know, when I'm relaxed, I know this, but right now, you know, do you want to see me remembering, or do you want to see me work? You know, kind of thing. So that's the only like process where I'm like, look, just please don't rush me, you know. That makes sense. But otherwise, I'm just open to whatever. Yeah, it must have been great working with Craig as well. It must have been fun working with Craig. So fun, yeah, and we work very similarly. Like, we won Search for a Star for Lancashire Evening Post. That was in our like second year of Mountview. So even from then, we, you know, learn how to work together. Well, didn't even have to learn to. We just realised that we work together quite similarly. Yeah. From what I remember of Craig, he was always a very positive, encouraging person. I really like that about him. Very supportive, encouraging, and kind. He's so passionate. Yeah. It's great when people are passionate about it. It just gets you passionate. But yeah, it's as long as it's fun. And safe. So we mentioned a bit of auditions there. Do you still get nervous at auditions? Yes. You do? Yeah, I don't think it gets any easier. In fact, I think it sometimes gets worse. Oh, especially if, you know, the person in the room knows you. So you're like, oh no, if I fail at this now, you're going to think I have now failed, and that is it. Oh, she's lost it. She's lost it. It's like, no, I'm just having a really bad day. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. If you're having a bad day, it can go. I mean, I wasn't the greatest at auditions. Give me the part, I'm fine. But auditions, I feel myself so het up that I actually physically threw up in a Disney audition once. And there's a disaster stories for you. Literally went to the corner and threw up, and then went, oh my God, bless you. Yeah, went to the toilet and was just like, oh my God. Like, I put myself. Did you do it on the floor? In the corner of the floor of this hall. And
Yeah, I don't. They just kind of looked, and I think they realised what was going on. So there's a few people sort of milling around, and I just literally walked out and went to the toilet, and I went home. I literally went.
Oh my God, I love you for that.
Back in that room, but hey, it's a funny disaster story.
Oh, bless you.
Have you had any comedy stories from auditions?
I remember we went to an open audition for Beauty and the Beast while we were at Mountview.
Yeah.
Like, let's just go along and see what they're like. And it was a dance audition. I don't know why I went to that. And the end of the routine was, and drop into splits. Now, I can't do the splits, but on that day I did, but I couldn't get up. So I went, oh, just kind of crawled off. I didn't.
My God, what did you do?
Just crawled off, and that was it. They were like, yeah, thank you. There was no getting through that.
All these various things that people do at auditions, they're great.
Yeah, but yeah, usually, I don't know, auditions are just scary. And partly it's part of the reason why I wanted to get behind that desk.
Yeah.
Because I think some panels are so used to what they do, they don't empathize with, the person that's walking in, who is the only person in the room who hasn't been paid in that room. And they expect so much. It's like, how much do you want it? Sometimes it feels a bit like that. I'm very powerful, you are very not.
Yeah.
How much do you want this?
Yeah.
How much are you going to bleed for this? You're like, I really want it. Can we just take it as read that everyone walking into an audition wants the job?
Yeah.
So
it's funny, isn't it? There does seem to be a power play sometimes with the people sat behind the table.
Yeah.
I've had it myself. So what do you do? Because obviously you audition people now, because we'll talk about your directing and stuff in a sec, but now you're on the other side of that table and you are that person sat there. So I'm knowing you as I do, I know you make people feel comfortable, and I know you try and make them relax. Well,
first of all, just thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come to this, of course, because some people are working how many jobs to try and just stay alive in London. It's difficult. And they've taken time out of their day, they've spent money to get there, they've spent money on possibly an outfit to wear for it, or people really take their time out, and they've had to learn, so I try not to send too much material. And also, you don't need to learn this, just become familiar with it. And make that, especially when people panic when they're like, oh, I forgot. It's all right, it's not a memory test. That was the best thing that, what's her name? I've just blanked. She used to be casting director at the Donmar. Oh my God, Anne. I can't remember her name. But anyway, she said that to me, and it was the best thing that anyone ever said to me. It's all right, it's not a memory test. I was like, thank you. It's not, is it?
No, it's right. It's not. And there's so much pressure. I've forgotten lines.
And there's so many voices in your head as well when you're, like, oh God. You can't get rid of that. Anyway, so make people feel comfortable, make sure they know it's not a memory test. We're here to work. It's a rehearsal. It's pre-rehearsals. So, it should feel like we're workshopping something, we're getting your ideas, and also don't make them feel like they don't have a voice in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I'm so pleased you do.
Ask leading questions as well, so what did you think about the character and and you're like, what? I had loads to say, but not about that bit.
I always used to, the few times that I've directed, I always ask people a bit about their life, just to get them chatting like a person, and that automatically just starts to kind of calm them down a bit.
Or even, how was your day? How did you get here? How was your journey? Just something, Sometimes as well, if they ask you about what you've done as well, it makes some people panic, like, oh God, because they feel like they've got to impress or something.
Suddenly really just feeling for all the actors out there.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's so
it doesn't
hard,
help when I was reading a few things on Twitter this morning about just casting directors going, actors who like, oh God, do you know what? The thing is, actors never do the other way round, because they don't want to
piss anyone
not
off.
get a job anywhere. You don't want to piss anyone off, but you know, I'd love to just say, right, dear casting directors, stop being so mean. Like,
there is quite, I mean, I'm addicted to Twitter. I love a good Twitter binge. And there are a few people that actually kind of call people out, and I always retweet it all the time. Because I'm like, actually, the only way the industry is going to change in terms of that, way people are treated, is if people talk about it and get it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so fearful of upsetting and getting a bad reputation and not getting a job and not working, that kind of stuff, that it's just allowed to carry on a bit. But we mentioned you're directing there, and you've done quite a bit of directing now, of course. And one that interested me was you directed Bear at the Vaults, and which is great. And I just wondered, first of all, what kind of inspired you to want to move into directing, and also how important it was for you, because you know that musical is a LGBT production. And what did you want to kind of give a platform to that community, because it's something that's very dear to my heart as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We at the end that we kind of changed the end of the show as well, and mentioned all the names of people who had taken their own lives due to, you know, just trying to be who they wanted to be. And we had a little like tree at the end, and all their names were put up on the tree so that everyone could read them at the end and read their story, because it's not just a show, you know, it's so important. So it was a brilliant piece, and I'd love to be able to do that again with that group of people. It was such a great rehearsal process, but we had problem after problem after problem. The venue is not built for putting musicals in. The producers, you know, made a couple of no fault there, just for being new producers, you know, just made a few like rookie mistakes, which is like not doing things until the last minute, and obviously then not being able to afford the things, so we had to change the whole way the theatre was seated at one point, and it ended up being people just facing like a corridor. It was, and obviously the buck stops with me with that kind of thing, even though it's out of my hands. So in the reviews, it's me that gets slated for those things, and you just have to take it and go, okay, learning curve. Just remember that it's me that gets blamed when it's, you know. So it was problem after problem, but in a way, the best lessons that I've learned so far. But what a wonderful bunch of people in a room. It was great, and what a lovely story to tell. And you know, the fans of the show, the diehard fans, are amazing. People came to, well, for solace really, and there was a whole community of people that were there for the show that had never met but became friends after seeing that show. And you know, it was just such a lovely atmosphere, really.
Did you use all of the tunnels, or did you just concentrate on one specific thing in there?
One tunnel, but it was like a corridor, and we were meant to have it the stage one end, which would have been great for sound and the seat rate, but this seating had to be changed last minute because I couldn't afford it. So the designer had to redesign it last minute, and it was just, we had no choice. It wasn't like, oh, this one or this one. It was like, look, this is the only way we can do it. I was like, well, I guess I have to say yes then, don't I? Otherwise no production. We looked at putting the Twin Peaks UK Festival in there one year, actually, and but for various reasons we were like, the spaces are incredible. For anyone who doesn't know, the Vaults is of course the old tunnels underneath Waterloo Station, and but it was just the sound in there, and we had somebody singing live, and I was like, it's just going to bleed into the other rooms, everyone's going to freeze. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't feasible, unfortunately. But the venue itself is the venue's amazing. It's such a great space, but it's just not quite right for musicals. And it doesn't mean it's not right, it's just you need to spend a lot of money to make it sound like a theatre.
Yes, you do.
And
you really do.
And unfortunately nobody has money in theatre.
None at all. So directing, you went back to our drama school, you went back to Mountview and directed Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yes, that
must have been kind of weird and kind of fun and kind of interesting, like going back to, not just going back to a drama school atmosphere, but going back to our drama school. How was that? Was it fun?
It was amazing. Well, before that, I started directing there because of Eddie Gower. He was also in our year, now head of foundation course. And I taught a lot there. And I was chatting to Eddie in the staff room one day, and I was like, oh, I just, you know, been working on a show, and I was getting a bit cross with the director. And I was like, oh, do you know what? And I'd had a couple of auditions where I didn't feel like safe to do my thing in the room, and I was like, I want to be a director. I think I'm going to follow a few people around, and I asked Sean Holmes if I could follow him to a tech and, have a chat with him, and did that. And he was like, listen, how do you fancy directing the Foundation Showcase? And I was like, this is a bit soon. Yeah, I don't know. Who sees it? And he's like, just their mums and dads. It's fine. I was like, okay, no public. Great. Okay, I'll do that. And so I ended up there was 26 girls and 4 boys. And they said, my brief was, of course, I didn't stick to it. The brief was 3 half an hour slots of a musical, but they have to at least, kind of be similar to one another. It has to have a theme. So I was like, okay, 3 different musicals that have a theme. Okay, that contain a lot of girls in them. Okay, well, could I find musicals with lots of girls? And then I started looking at the writers and the directors and all the creatives, and thinking, okay, there's a problem here. I didn't realize how much of a problem there was, but where are all the women at?
Yeah.
No wonder I can't get a blooming job sometimes. Like, this is ridiculous. And boys, like, there's like an influx of boys to drama schools, and there's an influx of girls to drama schools, and then the parts for boys are like that, and then the parts for girls are like that, and then you get to a certain age, and then you're no longer needed in this industry. You're not pretty, because and I was cross. I was getting so cross, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I believed everything was okay, but it's not, especially not in musical theatre. So I put a show together using a little bit of Her Naked Skin, amazing play, and lots of plays and shows and songs, and just put it all together, and just facts, and then wrote some of it myself about the suffragettes. And then we did that, and it was amazing. And then the head came to see it and went, can we do that as a 30th show? I was like, yeah, good luck getting the rights. There's about 200 shows in there. but no. And then I directed Girlfriends there.
Okay.
And so I was still learning while I was there, and all the cast were I was like, I'm new to this, guys. And they were so supportive. And just a lovely bunch of people. And the more collaborative you are in a room, the better it is anyway, because look at all those brains you've got in the room. Why wouldn't you use them? Why would it be a dictatorship?
Yeah.
Yes, okay to make the final decision on something, but I just loved it. I loved it so much. And also I love being able to control the atmosphere in the room. And it's just, we're not saving lives, it's fun. Like, it should only be fun. And also, if you instill fear into a room, which is, as we know, happens a lot at drama school, I don't understand it, because and they say you must develop thick skin as an actor. Well, no, because you really have to have thin skin, because you've got to access emotions like that, you know. And so if you're instilling fear into the room, then that's an emotion that you've then got to try and get rid of to do your emotions that you're supposed to do. So in a basic form, I don't understand why you would put fear in the room. You've got enough fear, your own fear of, like, whether you're going to do it well or not. So one of the big things is, let's all be crap right now, because so much amazing, well, as you have to fail to move forward. You just have to. If you're not allowed to fail, then when can you if you can't fail in rehearsals, then when can you fail?
Well, also, you can't succeed without failing. Otherwise, you don't have succeeded. Like, I mean, I think I think it's important to fail. Actually, I think you learn. You grow, and you can't succeed without it.
And it's hard to fail if you don't feel safe to.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing, and actually Sally Humphreys and I often chat about this, the one thing that I found, one thing I found missing from drama school, and I don't actually know if it's still missing to this day, was they would not really teach you about the business side of the business, how to be self-employed, how to do your tax, how to approach people properly, how to write that letter to an agent as you did back then, you know, how to actually run a business, because you are your own business in business.
Yeah.
How many times can I say business in one sentence? But I always thought, as well as the counselling side of things and the safe space side of things, there should always be that kind of side as well, that kind of theory side of it, as this is how you actually live, basically.
A bit like at school, why don't they teach you about life? Why don't they teach you about money? Because they want to keep you poor.
Well, they succeeded. all good fun.
Yeah.
Well, let's chat about COVID, because of course we've all been living.
Why?
Well, I mean, massively affected our industry, hasn't it? Of course, it's decimated it in some areas. So a couple of things I want to chat about to do with COVID. Have you been personally affected by it in terms of work and everything?
Well, obviously 2020 was wonderful. I was personally affected by it, but kind of in a good way, if I'm honest. I discovered painting, and that was amazing. And I'm so glad I've discovered it.
Your painting is beautiful. I follow it on Instagram. It's lovely.
Thank you. Yeah, I just really enjoy it, and it's a great pastime. Not that I need it, but it's really therapeutic, and it's a job I don't mind doing. But yeah, it did affect me, but it made me think differently. I just kicked into survival mode, I guess.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find survival mode fun because you can be creative with it. So yeah, but it gave me so many. It was a bit overwhelming. I was like, well, I'm going to be an editor then. There's so many things. Then I was like, oh, I've got to pay for that, and then pay to train on that and whatever. Yeah, I had so many ideas about it, but yeah, it did send me on a slightly different direction. But also, it just made me more grateful when it came back.
Yeah. Do you think there's been any the way it's affected our industry, do you think there's been any positives that have come out of it?
I think there has, yeah. I think a lot of people have finished projects that they started and actually then had time to finish. And I think a lot of people panicked and thought, right, I need to do something. So a lot of new work was put on, and also videoing performances, like that's great for people who actually can't get out to the theatre. I think it's great to live stream a performance of everything. Well,
of course you did that, didn't you? You did I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. You're associate director on that. And I was going to ask you about that, about how that experience was, basically, doing a show with no audience, and whether or not you think we'll see more of that in the future.
I mean, I think it was hard doing it with no audience, because part of theatre is the immediate response, and especially for a comedy, you feed off that. But it was amazing as well in the fact that you get to do it a few times, and if something goes wrong, you can cut and start again. That was nice. Yeah, something's not going right. Whereas as a director in the middle of a performance, you're like, oh, scrub. Whereas you just be like, no, tell them straight away, and but it's fun filming stuff, as you know. It's just so much fun. So's theatre.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's all fun, isn't it? It's
all fun. It's just great.
Because with the COVID stuff, like, I feel it's kind of challenged us all to look at to thinking outside the box more and learning how to work in different ways. And I think personally we will see more of that kind of work in the future.
Yeah, I hope so.
when people's, I don't think the audience's trust is fully 100% yet to come back to live theatre. I think it came back for a while, and I think with Omicron and everything that's been happening, I think that the trust has gone a little bit again, so that's going to have to be built up.
And also we're dominated by, you know, 3 major producers that don't necessarily champion new work, actually. Sorry, I'm going to say it.
No, yeah, absolutely.
But one particular has stood in the way of it.
Right.
So, you know, hopefully West End theatres won't be the be all and end all as well. Like site specific venues, that's a lot more interesting. Let's get creative. Isn't art about moving forward and doing different things? Totally. Like sticking with the same old is a bit yawn now, isn't it?
Yeah, I love site specific work.
Becoming corporate, and so filming stuff like gives way to that, really. Yeah,
no, definitely. So for anyone who's watching this and they want to break into the industry, what sort of tips would you have for them?
Just believe in yourself and do what you do. I think that's the only advice I can give, really, because it's about luck, but it's also about perseverance. And believing in yourself and not being swayed by too much by other people's opinions. There's always going to be somebody that's going to tell you, no, that's not the way to do it. It's like, who says that?
You have to find your own way. Absolutely.
It's art, and so my advice is, you do you, boo.
So I think I probably know the answer to this, but what has been your favorite role to date?
It's really difficult because, yes, of course, Avenue Q. I adored Kate Munster so much. But also, I really enjoyed playing Emily in The Hired Man.
Okay.
Because as a role, didn't necessarily enjoy the job, but as a role, it's just a great part to play. It's really difficult. It's like choosing between your children. Like, can't. It's hard.
And your
favorite
film,
Mary Robert, as well.
You've played some amazing roles. Let's face it. You have played some wonderful roles.
I think I'm going to have to go with Kate Munster, Anna.
I think so. I'm going to tell you, yes, you are going to have to. Just remember that. You mentioned earlier about the writing and new writing and things like that. I know you're a fan of new writing, and you've written yourself. So if you were going to write about somebody that you admire and tell their story and maybe direct it, who would be the person you'd write about?
You, Lindsey.
You know what? I was just about to go. Is it me? Hilarious.
Oh, do you know what? I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
It's too many. It's too many amazing people. But one day I do want to tell the story of my mother's life.
Oh, really? Did she have an interesting life?
Yes, very interesting.
Oh, you can come over a coffee one day. Love to hear it. Well, that's all my questions I have for you, my darling. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're busy to sit down and have a chat. It really is lovely to see you.
Oh, and you. I'd like to see you in person, please.
Yes, absolutely. Let's make that happen. Definitely.
A big bottle of wine.
Yes, marvelous. A big one that costs £3. That'll be fantastic. Bless you. Well, hang around for a bit and we'll have a chat that no one else can hear. But for now, thank you so much, Julie. I really, really appreciate it.